Here's some of you ready? I'm Marquise. Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass viewer.
It's like walkout music.
yeah. WWE shit.
Yeah. With some wet ass viewer. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass viewer. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass viewer. This is, guys. This is what feminists fought for.
Did all that go through?
Oh yeah, we got all that.
Is my mic working?
Yeah, you're coming through good. We got all that.
All right, good.
I came back to my computer at an odd time.
That's a banger. That's what we in the industry call a bop.
It's good old Benny Shap.
Yeah, for some reason yesterday I had the Ben Shapiro version of Wet Ass Pussy stuck in my head. Had to listen to it.
It's empowering.
Yeah, that's
great.
Real, right? He was like upset about WAP or whatever. That was like that part is real, right? He was actually like upset about it.
Yeah, that's all that's from like a segment he did on Wet Ass Pussy.
Oh.
Where he's like just horrified by it, which is understandable.
Yeah, these people are fucking sick.
Just listening to him read the lyrics.
Oh, he read all of them.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's the marriage of opposites. It's like this poetic, artistic thing of beauty. You have like the most uptight, prudish guy in the world reading Wet Ass Pussy.
You kind of have to wonder a little bit. Like it reminds me of this like Abby Shapiro pictures of her with like her bare feet showing, and you're like, you know what she's doing, and it's like this. He like reads the lyrics. This is like a man who makes his living on the fucking internet, and he does this.
Yeah, let's not pretend that she doesn't know what she's doing. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, they're both offering up bait.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro has a book called Porn Generation that he wrote when he was still a virgin. Which I got the audiobook for it.
He's like, I'm living proof.
I listened to the whole thing. I don't know why. It was fucking terrible. But, he's not...
So I'm at Slavoid T.
All right, this is Shit Spouter 37.
This is Black.com build.
This is the Fed Post.
But I'm not on Twitter anymore, so.
Did you get banned?
The entire original Groiper and Frog Twitter community got banned all at once.
No kidding.
I don't even know what's going on Twitter. I've like not even been lurking.
When did that take place?
Like a month ago. Okay. We're all on Gab now or Telegram. But yeah, just like thousands of I don't know how many accounts were lost. The Great Purge. But the
frogs migrated.
Yeah.
Is it very sad? Is it better over there? Is it what's the difference? I haven't really been on Gab or.
Oh man, you should join Gab. You'll be like the third black guy.
You feel a niche role.
There's no black people on Gab.
I got to get in
There's
early.
no black people on Gab, and everybody's real like. I made a post about this. Like, there's the racism on Twitter is sexier than the racism on Gab.
It's that raw, uncut shit.
It's like a slow, seductive, burlesque striptease. Doesn't show you everything at once. Just, piece by piece.
Yeah, it was just
like
all out.
The end towers. The end towers are like very slowly spelling out the N-word one by one. Versus Gab, it's just like porn. It's just like hardcore porn, just showing you like angles you'd never even thought of. Like it's just very clinical. It's just like I don't know. It's it's too much.
It's an amazing metaphor. I gotta check this out. Yeah. I gotta go on there.
Hell of a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm selling Twitter there, but I don't know. I just feel like people should just be more creative with their racism.
Well, yeah, I guess if you're always at risk of being banned or whatever, you got to be more crafty and subtle. But over there, I guess you can just show it all.
Yeah, diamonds are created from pressure, right? You gotta have challenging conditions.
The adversity makes you refine your craft.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no risk. There's no there's nobody to report your account if you go a little too far.
It doesn't have the same appeal anymore.
So what is it like is it like mostly right wingers and just like the admin isn't really like checking on shit like that? Is it just like that type of like environment?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the guy who runs the site is a right winger. Yeah, I don't know how many people are on it. Like it's nice because since the entire Frog Twitter community was banned, we all went to one place. So we're all interacting with each other like we did on Twitter, which is, we have like people to talk to in that sense. But part of the fun of doing that on Twitter was like we're our own little island in this ocean of libtards and weirdos, and they'll stumble into our little thing that we've built and be very confused, and or even the right wingers on Twitter, I don't think really understood what we were doing. Like Fuentes, 2019, he decided he was the leader of the Groypers and like took over what is essentially like we just draw shitty cartoons of frogs in Photoshop, and like it's not like a political movement. It's I don't know,
memeology,
just something for fun.
Yeah. I saw some interview where somebody was talking about being on Gab, and like they just interviewed some kid on the street who's just like, it's just not as fun because I can't own the libs here. Like it's just like I mean, there's no libs to like
Throwing the
really
dunk on.
like but I mean
everybody's picking on boomers like boomer cons, Q-tards, and
neocons,
people like that.
I see.
I've been picking on the libertarians that are really, really mad that Gab doesn't allow porn. Speaking of porn, that's not allowed on Gab.
Oh, it's not completely the Wild West. Why is that?
Website.
Yeah, it's wholesome racism.
Oh, it's not really free speech because it doesn't have videos of people fucking. Which is a form of speech, right?
in so many words, yeah.
Yeah, well, the lady in the video wasn't really able to speak, but in a way.
Bound and gagged, yeah.
In a way.
Why is that? Just like for wholesome like family value? Is that
is that on account of the audience?
We're asking Genie all these questions like, what's it like on the inside?
Yeah, it's all right. I'm selling you on Gab. Come to Gab. The owner of the site's like a family man, Christian, who he objects to porn. He is all in favor of free speech. It's porn isn't speech. It's imagery.
Right. This is our ad spot. You're selling our audience, our leftoid audience on conservative social media services.
Yeah.
I really want I shouldn't, whatever I'll say. I really want Amy to get banned again so she joins Gab, and all the weirdo people that are obsessed with her have to join Gab in order to like get their fill, get their like hate.
Yeah,
posting.
they can take screenshots.
Because your little section of Twitter is probably the only thing that I miss from Twitter of like people that I like. Otherwise, everybody I like got banned.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
They're somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. Everybody, a lot of good accounts just got purged off of there. And just even before, just like people were just getting run off for like different reasons or cancellation. So it's just gradually been getting, because this is like the third purge now since the election, like, or second purge, like after the Capitol raid and all that. So people have just been dropping like flies. It's just getting progressively more boring. Like, you know what I mean? Like Trump's not even there. You know what I mean? It's just getting more boring.
Yeah. The fact that they banned him like also makes me not want to go back. Just what's the point?
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, like it's we're you definitely like you say, you're just on an island as far as like not being a libtard.
Well, he was like the consistent like long running show that was just fairly consistently good, and so without that, it's kind of like the mainstay is gone. Last I was on, it was pretty boring, but dude, if he did come back with his own platform, I would probably be.
Well, you saw the news, right?
Yeah, I was just telling him about it while you were gone, but we can recap it again.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Oh, just that Trump is rumored to start a new social media site in the next few months.
I did hear that. I feel like that's kind of bullshit, Because like, dude, if I was like about to put up or like release or whatever the fuck you want to call it, like a launch, that's the word, like a social media site, I would just completely say, like, of course, like Trump's gonna come for, like, be on it, let's go. But like, I don't know, like,
well, it would be his own thing, not like he's not going to join somebody else's pre-existing.
I mean, do you think he would do such a thing?
I mean, I think he would. My concern is how different would it be from like Parler or something that's already been tried.
Why doesn't he just join Gab? I guess there's money to be made.
He should. I mean, Gab isn't the best site infrastructurally, like it goes down all the time. So I don't know, maybe he could help out with that. I don't know if you saw this, but the governor of Texas did a video where he talked about Gab being an anti-Semitic hate site, and it was him and two, I think, state senators or legislatures. I don't know who they were, but I don't know what they're proposing, some new law that will fuck over Gab that I haven't
really
exactly how. Yeah, and they're saying that these are not our values, like them in between a Texas flag, American flag, and like a freshly bought Israeli flag that still has like it hasn't been ironed yet.
Right. It's got the square creases.
Yep. So
I mean, that's the move though, right? Like, it's just like any right wing platform, it's just immediately synonymous with just like some form of white supremacy or something. That's just what you say every time. Like,
I mean, I don't know how you can fucking I don't know. It's very, very frustrating because there's no other, like, the only platforms that I'm not worried about are hosted in other countries. Like Telegram is hosted out of Russia, and I'm not worried about them doing anything like that. But Gab is, they're in Texas, which is a conservative state, but doesn't matter. It's in America, and all of America has this issue.
Yeah, I mean the Parler doxings that were going on, and I mean, I feel like as soon as the Capitol raid happened, like, there was just that purge, and then moved to Parler and Gab, and then now, there's always been this sense that they're going to crack down on those and shut those down as well, and they're like, oh, it's a hotbed for right wing terrorist mentality or whatever, fascist.
I mean, they were doing that for years before. Slowly, the Capitol thing was just like I don't even think it's that all of this is a response to the Capitol raid, as much as like that was the day when Biden was confirmed, and so that the deal was done. He's going to be the president. The rigging succeeded, and they don't need to have anybody that says that the president's illegitimate on their platforms anymore.
Right.
I think that's where it's coming from.
Yeah. I think the Capitol thing was more so like just a quick justification for it. Like, they can pump it through the media and get everyone riled up on it, and then they can be like, oh, well, that's why we're doing it, actually. And now it's fresh in people's minds. So like, oh, domestic terrorism could be your neighbor that walked down the street with a flag.
Right. I mean, the protest was like the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
In the sense,
yes, I agree.
In the sense that it was basically like good.
Oh, you mean
good?
Like that? Okay,
good entertainment, absolutely. But just for like the people that it was, in opposition of, completely a handy thing to have happen.
Well, something was going to happen. They had all these people show up in D.C. The president was going to speak. The president was going to have them protest in some form or another, and they took advantage of that. It's similar to how in Charlottesville they knew in advance there's going to be a whole bunch of people in one place who have bad politics, so they arranged in advance in the media where, like, they already had the narrative cooked up. Something was going to happen. There was going to be violence there. There was violence at right-wing events all of 2017 and part of 2016 on like college campuses, speaking tours for conservatives. So they knew there's gonna be something like that's gonna happen in Charlottesville, and something like that did happen, and then they just haven't stopped talking about it since then. And this is the new Charlottesville.
Right. This
is the new, horrible thing. We can't allow a bunch of people to run into the Capitol building and put their feet on the desks of congressmen and senators. rioters and
right. I think that's true. That comparison. I think the biggest difference in my mind is Charlottesville was more clearly like LARP, was all these preppy motherfuckers pulling up, and it's all right. Like, you know, they just love that because they love to make them bigger than they are. And then you know Richard Spencer or whatever, he's fucking supporting Biden or whatever. So it all just evaporated into a joke. But the people at the Capitol raid, I think the bigger difference there is that it's less of a LARP to me. I mean, not many people agree with me about that, but to me it was more of an organic thing. But what do you make of that? Like, do you view it as sort of a LARP, or do you view like
authenticity?
No, I don't view either as LARPs, because Charlottesville was a protest against the removal of Confederate monuments. And I mean, now when you bring it up, people just think it was like a anime convention for white nationalists.
Yeah, for both.
You know,
plenty of furries on both sides.
Yeah. Like it had a very clearly defined purpose. It wasn't just like a general gathering for the bad people.
Sure. Yeah.
Richard was there and right. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Richard was there and other, speakers were there. But it wasn't about the speakers. Speakers were going to, I mean, I don't know what they would have said, but they were supposedly going to give speeches about the Robert E. Lee Monument in Lee Park and how it's, not a good idea to rewrite history and remove statues that have to do with American history. And I'm sure they would have had their own ideological motivations come through in those speeches, but it wasn't about any sort of ideology. It wasn't about white nationalism. I mean, I know what the argument is for why it was about white nationalism from the white nationalist perspective, which is that the reason why these statues are being removed is that they're statues of white men, and it's part of a general trend of tearing down the past. And and we kind of saw that last year with the BLM. The riots were targeting statues of white men, whether or not they were Confederates or in the Union. I think there was like a Abraham Lincoln statue.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't matter. It's just, these are old white men. You go. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on a tangent there. I don't think that Charlottesville was a LARP for the people that attended. I don't know what the motivations of Richard were, because I question what they are now.
Right.
You've seen me go off on Richard plenty. So
right.
I don't know. I don't know how long Richard was planning on being a right winger before becoming a Democrat, or like whatever the fuck he is now.
What was his career trajectory? What was his media trajectory? Yeah.
Was this a long game thing he was doing?
Yeah.
Or?
The Biden campaign started all those years ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I suspect it's his girlfriend, who's like a liberal journalist who has connections. I don't know. I can speculate. I have no idea though.
No, I think there's something to that. I think there's, we don't have to stay on
fuck
this.
Him.
Fuck him. Yeah, obviously.
Fuck him either way.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to that, because he was like, I remember in 2016 after Trump won, like he was like all on CNN, that video of him with the convention or whatever, raising the hand or whatever. And it's just like, he was doing interviews, and it's just like, damn, I don't know. I feel like if you're really about that shit, you're probably not doing interviews on CNN. You know what I mean? Like there's something a little fishy about that, but like, I don't know. I mean, obviously at the time I was a radlib, so I thought like, fascism's about to drop or whatever. Like, but
look at this scary guy going on CNN. Oh God.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he's obviously proven to be a joke. I mean, the only thing I'd say about Charlottesville is that like, I tell the leftoids the same thing about the statue. I'm like, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Who gives a fuck if that statue's there? Does that help black people to take down the statue? No. So who gives a fuck? Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. So I mean, that's sort of the reason why I feel like the reasons I come up with LARP is like, who cares if it's up or down, and sort of that Spencer just, he just outed himself as a fucking lib. I mean, he voted for, he just outright, and he didn't even have to say anything. He could just voted Biden and just kept it to himself, unless it's some fucking, reverse psychology shit. Like, oh shit, like, I don't know if he's got some 4D chess with that, but like, I don't know. I mean, he's clearly a joke.
It's not just him. It's him and a number of his underlings voted for Biden and talked about it. I can name the names, but I don't really want to.
Yeah, there's no need.
People know.
Yeah.
And then there's a large portion of the self-described dissident right doesn't believe that the election had a significant amount of fraud and that Biden won completely legitimately. And
what's your take on that?
Also, you should wear a mask. It's super scary and
the pandemic.
Great. And,
Okay, yeah.
like this is all coming out of the dissident right, the self-described dissident right. And then there's this other trend among these people of like now they regard conservatives as worse than Democrats because they offer false hope. And conservatives are the main target. I was when I was on Twitter and I was talking about election fraud, there was like a small group of people that were accusing GOP. I was getting paid to shit posts
to make these memes, to make these Apu memes for the GOP.
It kind of sounds like it mirrors a little bit of what's been happening, like that we've seen on like the left with like this whole post left and people like accusing the post left of getting like Claremont Institute checks and shit and like being like GOP Marxists and taking checks and all this crazy shit. So it's funny how it's also kind of fracturing up over there. And like I kind of noticed the same thing where you're talking about how pointing at like conservatives as being false hope or whatever. It's kind of like the same kind of talking line generally that you get actually from a lot of people that are usually categorized as quote unquote post left about Democrats to a degree.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of funny how it mirrors that way. It's like the same problems on different sides of the coin. Exactly.
It's just who you've been burned by most recently.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess I started off as a leftist, so I have more ire with the Democrats too. Yeah. But I don't even think it's just that either. I think it's what power does the GOP have right now? Like they had the presidency, but they're now weak. They basically have like a slim majority in the Senate, and that's it. And theoretically, they have the Supreme Court, and they have Fox News. So they have one media network, supposedly the Supreme Court, and 2 seats in the Senate.
Well, and a lot of
why is that?
A lot of that's contingent upon like Trump's support too, and like that's not like necessarily a guarantee.
What do you mean?
For the GOP in general, like a lot of their their base comes from people who, maybe not a lot, but a large contingency are like people who are Trump supporters or ended up supporting him at the end. So like some of his like endorsements and stuff, like which I've been reading a lot about in the news, like him, maybe or maybe not endorsing people in Alabama, Georgia, etc. They carry a lot of weight. So you're saying like they don't have much power. Well, I mean, even if Trump doesn't, keep throwing them bones, then they definitely wouldn't seem to.
Yeah, he's the guy keeping them on life support.
Yeah, totally.
In any sense. And I think that's why he's not going to go form his own party. He kind of sees the leverage he has. Even though the GOP fucked him over, he knows that he has them by the balls. But my main point is that if conservatives don't have power in any institutional sense, they don't have control over, there are no conservative social media platforms, conservative universities, conservative version of Hollywood or anything like that. It's all leftist. Why am I supposed to target conservatism more or see them as equal? Like even seeing them as two equal things, and it's just No,
I agree. I totally agree. Because I mean, the GOP, the neocons and neolibs are the same, but one wing is clearly in strength right now, or favored by the elites right now. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you go back 20, 30 years, maybe you could say the opposite, that the GOP neocons were more favored. I mean, for sure. But now this is what it is now. So it's
well, and I think that I think that like you were just talking about how like you can't even like even to point out that like there's like any semblance of like equality between the two of them. I think that you're not supposed to acknowledge that like the left completely just like dominates our culture just everywhere. And so I think that like creates like a lot of dissonance that makes people really jumpy at just like the idea of you even mentioning it, at least to my experience. Like even to point that out is disciplined like immediately.
That's even something that is it's just a common talking point in the dissident right at the moment, that the two parties are the same. So why are you even like, this is why I went hard against libtards. Like I just needed to remind people of how badly these people suck.
Yeah. Always.
Because it was like, I don't know, when Trump was in power, I was very critical of him when he would fuck up, because there was actually a reason to do that. He actually, could start a war, or he could, I don't know, like he did a number of things that I didn't like, and I called him out on it when they happened. And I wasn't apologizing for his misbehavior in any sense, because I wanted more out of him, not because I wanted Joe Biden, which seems to be where a lot of these guys, I mean, it turns out that people like Richard Spencer were motivated by that.
Right.
And I wonder how much of that was happening just elsewhere on the dissident right.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, we definitely see a lot of people. The mirroring too that I see that see what you're talking about was like there were a lot of people on the left that we viewed as like opposing the DNC or what have you, and then ultimately just sort of falling in line with the lib shit, the lockdown shit, right. The same stuff you're talking about with the dissident right, and sort of everybody just kind of just getting subsumed into the blob.
It's like at the end of the day, it's all like establishment people that are just like reverting back to liberalism, be it like their conservative flavor of liberalism, or be it their more like radical flavor of liberalism. It's just liberalism at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's all libtards.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Libtards all the way down.
I agree. Yeah, they're the top one to hit, because I mean the neocons. I mean they suck too, obviously, but they're sort of like the lackeys in the sidecar, just like the left. I mean, I spend a lot of time talking shit about the left too, but I mean, at the end of the day, the top of the pyramid is the libs. I mean, that's just how it is. But
I think some of the motivation in the dissident right among the people that voted for Biden and endorsed Biden is like Stockholm syndrome from being bullied. Some of these people were doxxed. One of them, I'm not going to name his name, but some people might know I'm talking about. One of them like lost his entire career. He was, he had a PhD. He worked very hard in his career. He lost it because he got doxxed as a Spencer underling, and then turned around and endorsed Biden. And it's like you're okay. All right, you can make a big brained argument for why you got to stick it to GOP or whatever. But like you're voting for, or why it doesn't matter because they're both the same. But you're voting for the symbol of leadership of the people that ruined your life, and that's just cuck shit.
Yep.
I don't know. It just
that's why I respect the GOP people in Alabama that were just like in Georgia that was just like, we're not going to vote for the GOP. We're going to leave them to die and let the Democrats kill them or whatever. That's one thing, to be like, oh, you fucked over Trump, so fuck you. We're not going to be there for you. We're not cucks to you. But to vote to like endorse him and be like, oh well, he's libs are just better at this. Like to say that shit is like a step too far.
They're more competent.
Right. That's what he said. Right.
Get the adults in the room.
Right.
No,
what was it, SLAV? You said he was like the gentrified Nazi or whatever. Like this.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Come on, man. Like
he's a Swipple nationalist.
Right.
He's not a nationalist though. He's against He's against petty nationalism.
Fucking.
He wants a European Union, but racist. I don't know.
Based.
Dude, about just like
I'm listening.
About just like the comparing them as like equal and everything. But like the thing that I had observed like on the left there, I thought was so funny was like all these people that take every fucking chance they can to just be like, who even gives a shit about electoralism anyways, and we'll say like it doesn't even matter, or it's just one stooge to another stooge, right? But these exact same people would never ever even consider voting for Trump as a way of just saying fuck you to Biden in this system that like by their own fucking opinions, like they've just been talking up and down about how they just hate. There's no weight to this. It doesn't even matter anyways. And then like of course it doesn't matter when it actually comes down to it. Like there is on some level, so like they are different. They're not exactly the same. And of course, yeah, it comes down to one of them, makes it so that everyone at the fucking cocktail party is going to think that you're like a demon person or something. Like, right. Like that might there might be a lesson there. You might want to follow that.
Well, I mean, I voted for Trump a second time because I want them to think I'm a demon person. I wanted him to win a second time so that I could tell them that I did it, even though I know he sucks in a lot of ways. But I did it because I wanted to hurt them.
Absolutely.
And I want them to suffer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You made me do this to you.
Oh yeah, I said that for a while. It's like, yo, the spite against the libs, and we talked about this with Jack for a little bit. But like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with spiting.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, they're fucking loathsome. There's nothing much like being gay.
It took me 5 minutes to go vote for Trump a second time. It was not any kind of like big investment of my time.
Bro, for real. I posted that shit of me voting for him. It really like took like 10 seconds. And the amount of like vitriol.
Why did you stay home? Fuck you.
Yeah, the amount the leftists got so mad at me about that shit. I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it 10 times over. I mean, just for that alone. I mean, yeah, the war and the trade deal shit, sure. But I mean, like, what did you expect him to get rigged out? Were you going into it expecting that? And like,
no, I didn't. I really thought he was going to win a second time, and he did. But I didn't think that it would turn out this way. I talked to Richard the night before the election. He called me up drunk, and he was like, I'm beginning to doubt my prediction that Biden's going to win in a landslide. Like, okay, all right. He wanted to hear why I was saying that Trump was going to win. And what I told him was, basically, the Democrats were not campaigning. They weren't spending money on this campaign. They were kind of phoning it in the entire time. Even the DNC, like that whole thing was green screen. Compare that to the RNC. And I don't know, like I saw it as smarter for them to hold Trump in there, hold him captive in every other sense than, actually having their guy in there. And then, they're actually in charge. Meanwhile, everybody's riled up to oppose the big mean Republican. It just seemed tactically smarter. I don't know. I did not think that they wanted to win. They weren't acting like it. And then the whole primary process seemed to be just about raising money for 2024 because they went broke in 2016. So like they had this new rule that in order to get on the debate stage, you need to meet a certain donation threshold. And they ran like so many different candidates. And then they kept raising the donation amount every debate.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
The whole thing just seemed like it was just like
a joke. It was a sham.
It was just a way to make money for the next election. That's what it looked like to me. But then what it actually turned out to be is he didn't need a campaign because they were just going to do the
they were just like, fuck it, we don't even need to do that.
Ballots. Yeah.
I mean, I remember like when we were just following like the primary and everything, and like they looked really fucking weak the entire time. And it was like a laughing point. Like I had a lot of fun just laughing at just like how much of a shit show it was. And then like, fucking I guess they had the last laugh.
So so what do you think, Genie, in terms of like this perception now that that they're the popular ones because they won? The whole inauguration, they're all saying like democracy was preserved or whatever, and all that Time magazine thing where they're all like securing the election or whatever. But like, what do you think of this perception now? Because I mean, everybody has different degrees of like to how much it was rigged, right? I think they rigged it out the fucking wazoo, obviously, but like everybody has distinctions to. Was it just the media element of it that's the rigging, or the coalescing of like Bush people and Clinton people behind Biden, or was it like more down to the nuts and bolts of counting the votes? Like where do you fall on that? Like how much do you think it was?
Well, do people actually think that this was a reflection of democracy? Like I don't even believe that when Democrats say it. I don't think they believe that, because if they did, they'd let us talk about it.
You're like, where? Reflection of democracy, where?
Well,
but there's people who view like MAGA as like a very fringe, radical sliver of the population, and then they view this election as proof of that. That he lost by millions and millions of votes, and he got. Do they actually
believe that though? I don't know, man. I think that's just something that they say. I don't know. Maybe you tell me. Like,
no. I mean, look,
I'm wrong.
It's obvious. Well, I think they know that it's bullshit. I mean, the people who really like are higher level in the media that push that up, they're not morons. They know. But there's a lot of people who consume that, who are like midwits who consume that and like spout it out again and say like, yeah, well, it looks like that's the truth. I see it verified. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, how I look at it is when George W. Bush won, a lot of people thought Al Gore won anyway, myself included. But it felt like Bush country, it felt like he was the real avatar of America, especially, after 9/11, he had 90% approval. He felt like he was the legitimate representative of the popular will of the American people. And same with Obama when he was president. I had no doubt in my mind that was the guy that majority of people wanted as president. And then same with Trump. It felt like this was Trump America. This is MAGA country for 4 years. But it still feels like MAGA country to me. I don't know, it doesn't feel like anything changed. And the inauguration didn't have anybody attending who wasn't a security personnel or a politician.
Unprecedented military presence. Unfucking president.
Military presence is still there. There's nobody who watched that inauguration speech who wasn't paid to watch it. And there was a whole field of like little flags. It looked like a cemetery.
Yeah.
All the convention is just like social distance reporters and like, oh, it's COVID. That's why nobody's here. It's not because nobody would fucking show up.
It's like a memorial service.
Yeah. Joe's already dead. CGI Joe's already dead. Have you guys been seeing his hand through the mic and him falling on the stairs? How are they doing with that on Gab? Is it just like all day? Like,
yeah.
Wait, what is it? What is this about the mic?
I was about to say the SLAV.
I've seen the stairs, but
no, you got to see the mic video. There's like a HuffPo, I think, put out a video of him being interviewed and supposedly being interviewed, and his hand goes over where the microphone is, like in the video. So either the microphone is like 8 feet tall or something, or not 8 feet tall, but like it's like 3 or 4 feet tall, and it's much bigger than his arm.
Yeah.
Or the whole thing was green screened.
He's outdoors. It's like the chopper's in the background, and he walks up to them. And then, there's a bunch of reporters. They got these big boom mics because they're like social distancing or whatever the fuck. And then his hand seemingly goes through one of the mics. And then there's a moment where you can see, two of the mics, you could see his hand in front of both of them. And most people were like,
right
well,
now.
shit.
He's walking down the driveway. Oh, there it is.
Yep.
His hand's over one of the mics. And I'm watching USA Today fact check.
Yeah.
Fact check.
Yes, dude. It was trending. The next day it was trending. It was like, fact check. No, it's not. It's real. It's real. And it's just like all these like libs doing demonstrations of like, oh, well, you can see that with this type of microphone and this type of lens that actually it's an optical illusion. They were going mad hard. And there were people in my mentions that like I kind of like and I kind of respect. And they're like, oh, well, it's been debunked. I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you
They've
saying?
brought out the Snopes. They've covered it. We're good.
I mean, okay, maybe it's debunked. I don't know. My question is like, why are they green screening him in the first place? Like, he can't step outside to go to a bunch of reporters. Like, supposedly that would have been like right outside of the White House, like him hopping on board his helicopter. Like,
right.
Why would they? I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
It looks fake as fuck to me, but it's like, why are they faking that? Like, what's going on?
Oh, right. Because they were saying a lot of the right wingers were saying that he's dead. I'm
not gonna go that far.
No, I don't believe that.
I'm
I don't
literally
believe that.
watching this and like he just like he walks. He's so like fucking. He just walks old.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is like he's.
I don't think he's
dead. And so they got a body actor. They revived Jimmy Stewart.
He's like over exaggerating it.
He's got mad CGI dots on his face. Like.
right. It's God. Who was the fucking guy who played Gollum?
Oh my God.
It's that fucking guy with the ping pong balls all over him. Andy Serkis. That's it.
No, I don't think he's dead. I mean, I think he can't handle real press. So maybe that was like the 50th take of him out there, and like, where they cut in whatever. It doesn't matter either way. Like it doesn't matter. Even if you can successfully debunk this or whatever, it doesn't matter. The point being is that he's fucking decrepit. He's barely there, and and then the next day he falls walking up the stairs to Air Force One.
Three times in a row. It wasn't just like one trip. It was like
he's barely there.
Falls.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if I think it was obviously like a doctored video, but even if it wasn't, he's clearly not there. And that's what the fact checking shit is weird about. Is like they nitpick these things that, and it's like they lose the forest. They lose the forest for the trees. It's like, say you're right about this fact check. The bigger picture thing is still true. He's still fucking demented. Everybody knows this. What are you talking about?
Like it's not fake. He's just retarded. He's just a bumbling old fool. You can't believe that? What?
You ableist?
Hey, you know, sometimes you just forget, you know, you're like on the third stair. You're like, what comes next? I don't know.
You're thinking about corn pop. Reliving the days of your youth.
Remember when it was like a fucking like common line during the fucking debates to just like ask Joe if he remembered shit? And, like,
oh yeah.
Look at that.
It's like a circus act or something.
Yeah, and now you're like a fucking dangerous like conspiracy theorist for just like echoing what like absolute public enemy Cory Booker was saying on live television. Like, come on,
dude, that's so true. So many, that's so true. Like, yeah, Castro and you know, Booker, like all these generic shit libs, like they were calling him on that. The left was all doing that. The Chapo left was all doing that, and then all of a sudden, quiet as fuck. In the last couple months, you don't hear a word.
Train moves quick.
It was like Will Menaker being like, "Oh, we should make the sundown emoji the official emoji for the
clock."
Yeah, yep. And all of that shit, and then it just dried up really fast.
Disappeared. Very strange.
What's up with that? I don't.
Very strange.
I'm just asking questions. You know, that's
right. Yeah, you just can't bring that up anymore. He's just like, he's Kamala is president. I mean, Kamala is functionally president in my mind. There's some fourth branch shit, Cheney shit or whatever. She's obviously president.
No.
And she's gonna be in a year or two. You don't think so?
You got to win an election to be president.
Right.
She's the senator.
Right.
She's a senator, and Biden's the vice president.
Yeah.
And we don't have a president.
Right.
That's how it feels. It feels like we don't have a president. We don't have somebody that
no, I keep saying it. I keep saying it's a puppet government. I keep saying that because like they put all these video pictures up, Kamala and Biden, and there's like photos of them walking like very West Wing-esque, and they're just walking around. They're just like 2 months down, you know, and then like another photo of, like, of Kamala walking, and it's just like, you know, big problems demand big solutions, and that's it. Like 50,000 likes, just banger, you know what I mean? Just another banger, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's a puppet government. It's not real. None of this is real. I mean, it's like completely.
Yeah, they won't even trot him out for a goddamn press conference, like for an interview or anything.
Yeah.
I think Trump's role as candidate and later president was to shatter a lot of the illusions that people had of American democracy.
Yep.
And now they're trying to piece it all back together, and you just can't, you know?
Yep. I mean,
it's broken, and like it looks more broken than ever. It looks faker than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that he called the National Guard on his own people. I don't like that, and obviously he's got limits to what he can do as, like, you know, as an outsider or whatever. But at the end of the day, he made the neocons take the mask off and reveal that they're libs, and he made the left take the mask off and show that they're libs. I mean, that's kind of invaluable. You know what I mean? As much as the trade and the war shit and like the spite shit, like that's kind of invaluable. It's really, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of eye opening. I don't, if you're paying attention. I mean, it's totally.
And then even that, I don't know how to explain why he was, you know, his own DOJ was locking up his own supporters all throughout his presidency. So I don't know how to explain that. I mean, there's a debate among the right of people who think he was malicious and just putting on a show. He never actually cared about his own supporters. I think that he was new to Washington. He's never done this before. He didn't have connections. He hired a bunch of Washington insiders, and they were running the show. He got outplayed. And if he were to like run again in 2024 and they didn't rig it and he won, he'd probably get outplayed too. You know, I don't know how to fix this situation other than if somebody is elected or somebody's in the government, you know, without even winning an election, you got to bring in your entire staff with you. You got to have a whole government ready to go. You can't just rely on the Washington that was already there.
Yeah, I think, and again, I always make this defense for Trump, and I don't really need to, but again, like, you know, they hand the cabinet to you, like Obama, they hand it to you. They're like, Goldman Sachs is like, all right, so this is who's going to be in all these positions. You know, he had Priebus at the beginning, and he's firing all these fucking, you know, blob motherfuckers, but like, that's who you're handed to, and that's, you got to walk in with them. I mean, whatever, you know, I mean, there's limits to how much he can do or whatever, and, you know, how serious he was. He's not that serious. He's not like a a serious motherfucker. He's a businessman. He just knows that being somewhat populist is good business sense for a media company or whatever. Like, you know, he just knew that. I don't think he expected to win. I really don't.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, I think his utility is dried up. And again, I'm an outsider. Like, I'm not on the right. I can't claim the right. I was a leftard maybe, you know, not too long ago. So I've got no place to critique outside of the home of the right or whatever. But I think the right would be best to, you know, give up on Trump and focus on something new. I mean, like, or just, you know, not cling too hard to Trump because, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know how you feel about that, but going forward.
I agree. I would add to that, though, that don't cling too hard to Trump in a defensive manner or in an offensive manner. I think that there's like this Trump derangement syndrome on the right that is like treating him like he's, you know, just this like ultimate betrayer.
Yeah, like, yeah, right.
It's the worst thing ever. It's so good that he's out of office, and it's like,
right, because they lionized him, right? Because they viewed him as like the hero or whatever.
Yeah,
right. I mean, yeah, you got to know what his utility was, like why his personal interests lined up with yours.
Kind of like, keep your expectations in check.
Yeah,
right,
just
exactly.
Be realistic about what he was. He was a fucking joke candidate that we ironically joke voted into the White House.
So we memed him into the office.
That was it. He was a fucking funny joke. And he's still a funny joke. It's still hilarious that we
really
did that.
Is.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's crazy based. I wish I was based enough to have voted for him in 2016. I thought it was a bad thing. I was like, I was a Bernie bro, and I was just like, I thought it was a bad thing. But I wished I was that base to have known that was the better choice. But were you ever like interested in? I mean, because you used to be like left leaning, but Bernie never. By then, you were already like not into that, right?
Yeah, I just looked at his voting record for one thing, and saw that a lot of times throughout his career, when he talks a good game, he cucks, and that was true before he ran for president.
Good call.
There was like an audit the Fed bill that he and Ron Paul were both working on that he stripped apart right before it was introduced. And then Ron Paul was very mad about that. That would have been a bipartisan thing, you know, would have been very good for exposing corruption in the Federal Reserve. And this is like right after the big round of bailouts that led to Occupy Wall Street.
At what point were you left identifying, and at what point did you switch over and realize it was a joke?
Well, I'm a millennial, so I was a leftist when Bush was president, and I was against the Iraq War, and my first ideology was Marxism, and then I started meeting other Marxists.
It turns you off real quick, huh?
That's what did it for me.
Well said.
Classic.
Many such cases.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about your little circle, whatever the post left or whatever it's called, is it's a whole lot of people that came to the same conclusion that they liked Marx's critiques of capitalism, but they're not fucking weirdos. I don't know.
Right.
And then sort of the realization that Marxism is for some reason, it's an ideology that appeals to people that are very bourgeois in nature and who just don't want to work because work is icky. Like, I think that's the, I don't know. I don't really understand why Marxism is like such a common thing among liberals. Yeah. And why they're so, I mean, nothing pisses off a liberal more than calling them a liberal. Like they're going to be, no, I'm a communist. I'm an anarchist. I'm whatever. Like, no.
Yeah, you can. What is it? Like you can spot the super Democrat or the super DNC fan by just like how staunchly they deny that they're liberals or that they're a Democrat. It's okay. So you wouldn't have voted for Trump in 1,000, of course, and kind of get out the vote at the last minute.
Yeah, I was at a bar a few days ago, or whenever St. Patty's Day was, and my friends were like making small talk with somebody who I could just tell which podcast he was downloading his personality from based on the words he was using, and he seemed to be sort of in a Chapo or post left, like somewhere there. Like he hated neoliberalism, blah 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 blah. And at one point he was like, "I'm going to say something controversial." All right. Me and my friends are, we're all like, I guess, dissident rightists or whatever. So we're all like, all right, let's hear it.
All right, buddy, I'll hold my breath.
I think Stalin was the good guy in World War II. Or I think Stalin was actually one of the best leaders that the human race has ever had. And we're all just like blank face, like, okay. I'm like, all right.
You're like, yeah, bro, we don't live in 1930s, so I'm not really sure or care.
I think I said something like, I think Hitler was actually a lot better. I think Hitler did nothing wrong. And then he like froze up. He got really tense. And I'm like, oh, was that like a controversial thing to say? Yeah, a little bit. And he was humorless. And I was like, okay, all right. Hitler did some things wrong. I'll grant you that. He did a few things wrong.
You fucking lib.
Capitulating.
You fucking lib cuck.
I mean, he should have maybe stopped the Sudetenlands or just, stopped it after taking over France and called it,
Don't open up an Eastern Front, bro. Like
he was a brilliant statesman, but he was inexperienced militarily. So we can split hairs about that. And he was like getting really tense, and I was like, I told him that I was fucking with him or whatever. Relax. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah, he said, I said to him, "You sound like a liberal," and he said, "No, I'm a communist," and blah blah blah.
The confirmation.
Like cha-ching.
And I guess he got a read on me based on that I was not in his milieu. So he started saying some positive things about Trump, like Trump sucked, but he was disruptive. He was really good at pissing off the libs and stuff. Like, and he completely changed his tune. And I don't know, it sort of upset me that like I'm hearing this now that it doesn't matter from leftists. I'm hearing the same things I was saying in 2015 about Trump.
Oh yeah.
Now that it's all over and it's safe and there's no consequences, leftists can say, "Oh, wasn't it great that he pissed off the elites? I mean, he was terrible as a politician, but he was great as this force of chaos," or whatever. Like, I don't know. No offense to you guys, because none of you were on board either back then. But like, I don't think you're on board now disingenuously out of cowardice. I think you're just like you realized later than other people.
For sure.
And I think somebody like that, it's just, he wasn't allowed to say this back then without being called a Nazi and somebody punching him in the face or whatever.
Yeah, you take out the possibility of him actually being a president again, because now he just got voted out, completely legitimately. And then now you can just say it because now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, do you guys think that's going to be like a thing, like going to be more and more popular? Because I haven't even, I haven't even noticed that, but like that, God, that probably is going to be. Ooh.
Nah, dude, I've already seen these leftists being like, you got Biden in, and like, you think he's going to be better, but he's really not. And at least you got rid of fascism. Ha ha ha. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you trying to say? You trying to say that like, the Brown scare was a joke and that Biden might be worse? Are you trying to say that? Because I remember all you motherfuckers rabid in the last couple months, like fucking rabid about how this is like a fascist creep, and like, that saying that Trump was in any way better on anything was meant that you were a Nazi. And I was fucking, I mean, like, again, anything that I brag about, I can only brag about to leftists. I can't really brag about it to right toys, because they would just be like, yeah, we did that fucking 10 years ago. So it's like, I can't really brag about it that much. But to leftoids, like, I was the only one fucking out there, like, on that hill. I was like, no, he is clearly better. He's clearly better. And I got fucking cooked for that shit. And now I watch them all. They're all backtracking. And even like generic ass libs are being like, shit, I'm getting less money with a lower eligibility rate for the stimulus checks than Trump with Biden. fuck, I should have voted for Trump, or shit, at least Biden didn't bomb Syria. I mean, at least Trump didn't wasn't bombing Syria like this. Like a lot of them are coming around off those two things alone. It's just like, damn, he's worse. And it's only 2 months in. Only 2 months in.
Well, Trump did bomb Syria, but he was better on Syria overall.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I could go off on a tangent on that. But
foreign intervention in general. He was just less of a hawk than they were on a lot of things.
The Obama-Biden administration is the one that started the war in Syria. So, right, exactly. Of course, it's going to be better. Like, it was like Trump de-escalated something that Biden helped start.
Swedes are like, yeah, but that means they're just the ones to finish it.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing that I was just saying was like, Trump's not great, but he's going to slow down what they're going to accelerate. They're going to accelerate a bunch of nightmarish shit as far as war and austerity, and he's going to slow it down, so he's better. That's it. You know what I mean?
This guy at the bar was saying, something about how at least under Trump, the media was all, against the presidency and holding him accountable for everything that happened. And now they're like kissing his ass now that they have their guy in there. And this is all just stuff that's super fucking obvious. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. That's why I wanted Trump in there. Like, right. You could have seen this with how even George W. Bush was treated compared to Obama. And George W. Bush is just as much of a fucking piece of shit as, Joe Biden. But like at the time, there was this partisan theater, and there is a power process between people that are trying to rise up the ranks in the GOP versus people that are trying to rise up the ranks in the Democrats. So at the time, there were all these people that were against Bush just because he was a Republican. And then when they got their president in there, that started a bunch of wars and bailed out banks and
passed the Bush tax cuts and all this shit. Yeah.
Did everything that Bush did except for worse.
Torture. Yeah, exactly.
They just said nothing of it because they have no principles. It's just like purely our guys in there. And
Obama's black and he's cool. And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And see, I don't know. Now it kind of feels like we have the Obama administration without the there's no excuse of like, well, we got the cool black guy as president.
What if you took that and you replaced it with as far in the opposite direction as you could possibly go? Yeah. What would you have then?
Yeah, even Kamala Harris isn't cool. Like they're trying to make her
with the Tims. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're trying to make her cool. Yeah, this is a basic point, and I don't have to make this, but like Biden, we only know who he is because Obama needed a token white motherfucker on his ticket to balance him out in the Rust Belt. That's it. That's the only reason we know who he is. He was a token white motherfucker. And now he's fucking president. So it is amazing where it's just like he's an appendage. He's a secondary thing. And he's supposed to reignite the Obama magic. But he's just like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's all Obama that orchestrated like Super Tuesday and got him in, and Kamala's like, the Clinton and shit. And, but
it's probably BLM, like the waves of riots that happened last year that came out of nowhere. We didn't see BLM doing anything since like 2016, since like right before that election. And then suddenly it's like, I mean, was it 4 years of no supposedly unarmed black men getting shot by cops for no reason?
Exactly.
On video, like I highly doubt that. And then when Ahmaud Arbery, the video came out, that was like 3 months old at the time. Like they were just sitting on it. Like somebody told CNN or whoever first published it, like, all right, go find a video of a black guy getting shot by somebody.
Yes, dude. Yeah, I'm glad you're making this fucking point because I was just making this on somebody else's show yesterday. I was like, these things like Me Too and BLM and all this stuff, like those things are already happening. But the only reason they pop up in the media cycle is when it's convenient. You know what I mean? Like, it is, they're killing, cops kill unarmed black people. That happens. Women get sexually assaulted or whatever at work or harassed at work. That shit happens. But it doesn't come up until it's useful, and it goes away when it's inconvenient. If Biden has Me Too shit, then it goes away. Right. I mean, like, it's just, I don't get how people don't see that. Like, isn't it weird that it's always in the news and then all of a sudden it's not in the news anymore? And like, what got solved? It gets solved because your vice president is black or your president is black. Did that solve that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's I don't know how people believe this shit. I mean, I'm sure there's like a basic point on the right, but like, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I guess So about Syria, I mean, like, so this is like the 10th year anniversary was a couple of days ago, right? It's right. So what?
Ides of March is when it started, March 15th.
Gotcha. So were you expecting like this sort of escalation under Biden? Were you was that a surprise to you when all this was happening?
Well, I should say he's sort of slowly escalating in a way that I think I'm not sure that it's going to lead to anything too bad. I mean, I'm trying to stay optimistic, but basically it seems like there's a lot of troop movement in the northeast part of the country where the Kurds are, which is to deter Assad from taking back the entirety of the country. I'm an Assad supporter, for the record, if anybody is wondering. Where was I going with this? And like the bombing was against Iranian targets. Shouldn't have happened. I'm glad everybody was mad about it, but they're like, Trump was doing bombings sporadically in Syria. So I'm really unsure as to whether or not it actually is escalating towards regime change or anything like that. If that were to happen, the U.S. would be contending with the Russians that are already there, and the Hezbollah, Iran, the Syrian army. So it'd be a really big deal. What they do have on the table is potentially setting up Kurdistan as a separate carved off little ethno state for people that are, taking money from the CIA. And I don't know. This is I'm sure there's like leftists listening to this who are supporters of the Kurds. Their cause is very popular among leftists, but it's like these people are creating yet another little statelet in the Middle East. Should they win, there's just going to be more conflict. That's just kind of like what happened after World War I. The whole Middle East was carved up. The map was formed. You had Lebanon and Syria were like taken over by the French, and Palestine and Jordan were taken over by the British. And I think that the actual natural formation of the map in the Middle East would be one unified state, at least for the Levant. So what they're doing is they're breaking it down more and more so that there's all these tiny little countries fighting with each other, and they can't build themselves up. It's like the breaking apart of Yugoslavia would be another, example of this tactic of weakening a region. Mm-hmm. Except the Middle East has been like this since World War I, so over a century.
Gotcha. More sectarian violence, yeah.
And that's what I see as the reason to not support the Kurds is that you're going to get just endless conflict with the Kurds.
Do you think that's why the libs and the left support them, is to encourage that?
Well, there's just a lot of this weird propaganda that the Kurds are a bunch of they're reading Mikhail Bakunin and they're radical feminists, and there's this just weird push that these guys are ideologically on the same wavelength as Chapo Trap House.
Didn't that guy Brace, like the Trunon guy, go out there and fight?
Yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of leftists that go out there and fight with the Kurds.
Maniac shit. Never in my fucking life would I do some bullshit like that, dude. What the hell?
Yeah. I mean,
is it LARP or not? Yeah, it's kind of blurring. Yeah,
it's a LARP, but it's also like you're fighting for the CIA. That's where the Kurds are getting their financing from. So yeah, okay, you're fighting the power.
Yeah, we're like, hands off Venezuela, but my boots on the ground in Syria.
How do you not see that you're participating in you're doing an imperialism when you do this? Like, how do you not see that?
Dude.
Yeah, you're doing a no growth and an imperialism, and you're doing a racism.
So what's the, because Syria is like a particular interest to you, right? What makes it what sticks out to you about Syria as far as foreign policy? Like, what makes that?
It's the biggest war of the past 10 years. Well, the biggest war, of course, of the past 10 years, but the biggest war of my lifetime. It's lasted for 10 years, and everything that we've seen out of geopolitics seems to be revolving around it. The immigration crisis in Europe came from the invasion of Libya and then the invasion of Syria. And yeah, it's kind of just the front line of where the world powers are fighting. It's the chessboard. And it's also, I'm a Genie, and it's right next to Agrabah. which is where I'm from.
Oh, word.
So there's also that.
So you don't think it's gonna you don't think it's gonna escalate anything? Because in my mind,
I don't know. I want to just stay optimistic.
Gotcha.
I don't want people to be totally black-pilled about the way things are. I think that okay, I have to kind of start from the beginning, but the way that the war started was, it was under Obama and Biden. They financed a whole bunch of moderate protesters and rebels and democratic reformers in 2011 to basically start BLM riots all over the country, pushing for a new constitution, and democratic reform, all these demands that they wanted, which they got in February of 2012. They got everything that they asked for. And then the fighting continued. I mean, it wasn't enough, and they couldn't really say why other than, Assad's a tyrant and he has to go. So then it became this revolutionary struggle against a tyrannical dictator, and that was the narrative behind the whole thing. But there wasn't any sort of like concrete list of demand. It was just regime change. It was just they paid, rather than have the U.S. military invade a country and take out the government themselves, they paid a bunch of locals and then later foreigners to go into Syria and try and do that. And the whole thing was a failure because the people that they were hiring to do this were ended up being a bunch of Islamists who were fighting in Iraq, who were out of work, who, they were part of the insurgency in Iraq. They needed a new form of employment. So they went to Syria to go, try and set up a Islamic theocracy there. And then that turned into ISIS. And then 2013, it was when the Russians got involved, and the Russians going into Syria sort of obstructed the ability to launch a ground invasion that wouldn't be really messy. So I really kind of think that the Russians turned the tides in that sense. And then Trump got in there in 2017. He cut funding to the CIA's moderate rebels that were fighting Assad in July of 2017. That was completely cut and hasn't, to my knowledge, that has not explicitly returned under Biden, although there are like British NGOs that are financing other groups now. Like it might happen again. And that's the only way that the war would re-escalate if Biden started financing these people again. And he hasn't yet. The bombings are bad, but the financing a bunch of militias is worse. And right now, I'm more inclined to think that that's going to happen in Iran before it happens in Syria, because there was this conflict recently between Azerbaijan and Armenia, which came out of nowhere. And as a result, the Azerbaijanis were given a whole bunch of guns and money and training from the U.S. and other Western powers, and they decisively won that conflict. Ethnic Azerbaijanis are a fourth of the population of Iran. So if you were to take down Iran through just a blunt invasion, it'd be very tricky. The whole country is prepared for that. But if you were to soften it up with something like we saw in Syria, where you have a whole bunch of protests by Azerbaijanis, and then the government is busy taking care of that, putting out those fires, then something else could come with Iran. And I'm more inclined to think that's what's going to happen as far as like geopolitics, as far as like the war machine. But yeah, I don't know, maybe Syria. I didn't predict that Biden would become president, so I could be wrong about these predictions.
You don't think though Iran will be like a direct thing? You think it'll?
There's no way. I've talked to generals about that. Like how would you do it logistically? The country's surrounded by mountains. We don't have a carrier anywhere near Tehran. So we would have to be traveling through the entire country to get to Tehran. Even with all our bases surrounding it, like they're more fortified than, is makes it possible for a ground invasion. The invasion of Iraq was possible because we had already defanged Saddam in the first Gulf War.
Right. And
we were bombing him for 10 years after that. Under Clinton, we were bombing Iraq. and it's sort of similar in Syria. Like that would have been possible if the Russians hadn't stepped in. But because the Russians stepped in, Obama punted that to Congress and they voted against invading. And he was like, oh, well, I guess they don't want us to invade, so we won't invade. But yeah, and another thing, this is kind of a crass remark on my part, but how would the U.S. military be able to fight an actual military with the state that it's currently in, with like, it's just basically a jobs program with like, they just want like female representation. They want gay and trans representation. They just want like everybody in there, and they're not really focused on the actual like getting an effective military in there.
I get what you mean. Yeah, like there's less of like a commitment to fight. It's more like you have like financial incentive to join the military. Maybe they'll help with your schooling or whatever.
Well, and also they're like, let's just shove everyone into their drone pod. You can do this from the building that's right down the street from you on weekends.
Right.
Remote
work.
Work from home war.
Distance.
Dude, sometimes on Fridays, right before I'm about to clock out, I'll actually crack a beer before I drone strike some kids.
Yeah, crack a beer, blast off a couple hot ones.
Oh my God, that's going to be a thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, probably.
They're not even going to have their own separate office to do this. It's all going to be like Zoom conference.
Gig worker drone strikes.
You got Mandalorian.
Dude, I hadn't even thought about
the Mandalorian going on one screen, and you got fucking Collateral Murder 2, frickin' as you're just mowing down Syrians.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Don't you love the future?
I was saying to some people recently, like, we were able to invade Iraq because of the patriotism, in the sense of like, there was a unified America in the 90s because we just won the Cold War, and then like we just got attacked. So we want to go after the bad guys. And if Biden were to just say, all right, we're going to go invade Syria, let's go. Would we even have the motivated manpower to do that? I mean, these guys, first of all, they'd have to leave DC. So I don't know. I mean, that's pretty risky. You might get another Q shaman in the fucking Senate chamber if you do that.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. We're a dying empire, and the romanticism of war has been lost since World War II. I mean, after Vietnam definitely put that to bed. So I mean, yeah, there's no romantic. I'm fighting to save my country. Like everybody knows.
Well, yeah. There's no shared concept of like anything we're like working toward.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not fighting. Everybody knows we're there for resources, geopolitical posturing. Even if you don't really know the details of it, you know that it's most likely bullshit. I mean, I don't think a lot of people really are protecting the country or protecting. How are we protecting the country by going over there and killing these people? Like, there's no connection. Like, it's looser than ever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But
and then the way to do it is to have it be like a propaganda campaign like that for the Kurds, where it's you're fighting for a bunch of leftist ideological causes.
Right.
Even that, like, I don't know, like I thought about that. You could just export BLM, like literal BLM protests to other countries and say like,
well, we kind of did a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, but a little bit,
but like in a serious way.
Yeah, like Venezuela or a country in the Middle East that we want to take out. Like you could say, I don't know, there's this goofy black guy from Brooklyn who is probably a member of ISIS, but he's a member of some Islamist militias in Syria named Bilal Abdul Karim. And you could point to him and be like, see, Assad's going after this unarmed black man. They kill him and like, we gotta take out Assad because he killed this black guy in Syria. We gotta send Black Lives Matter troops to Syria, or send like LGBT militarized LGBT parades into Russia. I don't know, because that was the big thing about Russia, is that they're mean to gays or whatever.
Right. I remember this. Yeah. There's obvious woke capitalism, and then there's woke imperialism, obviously, where it's just like, girl boss is a weapon designer or whatever. Right. We've seen all that shit, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I've seen like Jacobin or whatever, like articles of like, oh, Assad, like white nationalists love Assad, and he's a fascist, and like it's they're inching towards the we need to go over there and fight the patriarchy and white supremacy and cis heteronormative bullshit.
White nationalists love this brown guy.
Top 10 reasons why being anti-war is actually toxic masculinity.
Right.
I mean, it's a great strategy.
What
I mean,
no, go ahead.
Okay, so white nationalists are more moral than you are. Like that's all you're saying when you do that, you fucking retard.
Yeah, you're
like,
equating yourself
so white
below
nationalists
that
are
now.
so bad. White nationalists are so bad, but you're fucking pro-war and they're not. Like, I mean, that's just a self-own. You're self-owning,
Right?
Posting
retard.
L's.
Right.
Yeah, leftists posting their L's online.
But but how would you explain to like, all right, so they say there's like leftists or libs that are listening to this and they just don't understand like their conception of the right is like pro-war, neocon, you know what I mean? It's just a wash like that, you know what I mean? So, and this whole thing of like realignment or dissident right is just sort of like is more foreign or whatever. How would you explain why what the dissident rights quote unquote's motivations for anti-interventionism, like how would you encapsulate that or why that's a thing?
Morality.
What?
It's just wrong. It's morally wrong to fucking murder people that are, not doing anything to you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
CRK said, what? Morality is a foreign concept.
Yeah, I don't believe in that shit, so I'm surprised.
I mean, that's how I would explain it. It's just not a normal thing to support. Like, why do you support war, leftists? Why are you fucking burning cities down? And why are you fucking getting people fired from their McDonald's job for posting something racist on the internet?
Well, of course, they'll say morality. Too,
Yeah.
obviously.
No, well, okay, yeah, that's very moral of you. I mean, like,
It's subjective.
I don't know. I don't think morality is subjective. I think it's objective. I think the left is full of sadists, and
These people are sick.
Go off. Let's go.
I think they project that onto the right. And they act like racism is just the worst fucking thing in the world. And like, oh, well, the only reason the right supports Assad is, I don't know, what the fuck are they, what do they say? Like, it's for racist reasons? I don't even know what the fuck.
Nationalism or like,
They're like hobbyists. Like they spot a fellow.
A lot of people that came into the alt-right or the alt-light or the dissident right or the Trump movement or whatever you want to call it, were supporting Ron Paul in the previous elections, or they were supporting Bernie, who, I mean, he's not great on foreign policy, but a lot of his supporters are. I mean, a lot of his supporters don't realize how shitty Bernie was on foreign policy, and they thought he was like better than he was, which is why I like Bernie supporters a lot more than
he's
Bernie
like a
himself.
lifetime fucking politician. What the hell else do you expect out of this skin? Like, what?
Yeah. And there was just a very slow realization of that over time. But like Jimmy Dore is a perfect example of a Bernie bro who like he's against war and now he's sort of disillusioned with Bernie. He's like, I don't know, just to name one example. Like there's a whole bunch of people. Okay, Cassandra Fairbanks was a Bernie supporter in 2016 who then voted for Trump, and now she writes for Gateway Pundit. And she's an anti-war personality. There's a whole lot of that. It was just people that were anti-Bush because they were anti-Iraq war. I'll include myself in this. We're impressed by the fact that Trump campaigned as an anti-war president,
right?
And in a way that seemed way more sincere than Obama or anybody else that people thought that was. Like he actually on stage in front of everybody pulled down Jeb Bush's pants and like showed everybody like what a fucking joke he was. With regards to his record, I mean, with regards to the record of all these guys. So yeah, I don't know. I don't believe leftists when they say that they think that the right is a bunch of warmongers. I don't believe them. I don't believe that they're anti-war. I don't believe that there's an anti-war left. I think that Tulsi Gabbard was probably the only thing you had as far as like a leader. I shouldn't. No, I don't know. I'm saying that, and I'm thinking of people that would have been considered leftists, but now are like post-leftists or whatever. So
Right.
I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, like you were saying before, like this is something that just came to me later, I guess. But I really thought like, yeah, that was one of my initial political leanings, being against the Iraq War. And then if you're against the Iraq war back then, you're a lib, you're a left or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's just how I was. And I just thought that that was just, an immovable thing, like a basic tenet of what separates you from the right end of the spectrum. It's just that you're anti-war or whatever. And the neocons were always for war. And I don't know what happened, but within, 10, 15 years, it's just flipped. And now, like there's AOC talking about, like, if we had been attacked like that at our capital, by a foreign country, we'd be going to war. We'd be doing something about it. So we need to do something about it. And it's just like, and all these people where I was just like, look, Trump is clearly less interventionist than Clinton. I mean, you got to give me that. I mean, like, that's obvious, right? She's a fucking hawk, like, at least, right? At least, you can see that. And just these people just being in denial, being like, no, it's the same. And just like, yeah, I mean, they're just going along with like Biden or whatever and going along with these people that clearly want war. And I was just, and the Soleimani thing, just like right after that, there was like these libs that were just like, well, if you're going to do this, you need a plan. You need a coalition of nations. Like, you need a plan of how you're going to go through with this.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the proper etiquette to go to war? And I'm like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I was just like, wait, where am I? Like, God. You know what I mean? Like that. So again, like, I was late to realize this, but I was just like, damn, these people are not being anti-war is not a core tenet. It's
just not a priority right now.
It's not a priority. Yeah, it's a facet of maybe a wing of certain elements of a dissident left or whatever. But the core thing is being anti.
We got to be anti-Asian racism now. That's the main. That's what we really got to focus on, guys.
Right.
Are you conflicted about that as a Blasian? which side of that conflict are you on?
Every day I'm just pointing at myself in the mirror, just using different slurs. You know what I mean? I'm very conflicted.
You're finding yourself punching yourself in the face in the subway.
Yeah, I accuse myself of loitering in my store, and I accuse myself of being Chinese and all that stuff. It's a very hard time for me. It's very confusing. But no, I mean, I don't care. I mean, I don't value identity that much. Was why I can't really. It just doesn't mean anything to me. But I mean, I could see it's going on. But
what you were saying earlier, I think that the left can't be anti-war because it's at war with fascists or racists or whatever. Like, it's in a war mindset. It's been in a war mindset for at least the past 5 years. Domestically. Like, these people are totally okay with attacking their neighbors if they have the wrong set of beliefs or getting them fired or whatever. Like, this is a war mindset.
Right. Oh yeah.
So why would they be against foreign wars?
Right. Yeah, the Capitol raid, the fallout from that shit, just like, people reporting their like grandmothers and neighbors and shit, and just like, and all of a sudden, like the AOC thing, like, if it was a foreign, we'd do this, and like this Bush talk, like this neocon talk. And then, these people are just like, we need to surveil them and do all this shit. I'm like, I thought, like, in the 2000s, I thought we were not we, I mean, but like, as a leftist, like, I thought, we're the side that's supposed to be against all that shit. And now it's just like, it's war mentality, the domestic terrorism thing, the terrorist label, like, losing your civil rights, your civil liberties. Like, it's all war mentality. It really is. It's fucking psycho. It's insane.
Yeah, just the fact that, we have to use sock accounts and like fake names and whatever online, and they often use their real faces and their real names without any consent at all, and then brag about it. There's an asymmetry there that's a direct result of consequences only going one way. It doesn't matter if you're ostensibly right wing or left wing or whatever. If you're out of sync with basically establishment positions, you'll get branded a fascist. I'm kind of like saying a bunch of trite shit that everybody knows, but
No, for real. Yeah, it's I mean, I remember asking leftists, like, so what do we do with these people that are like racist or fascist, or what do we do with them? Like, they'll just be like, what we did in World War II, we killed them. And like, I'd hear that shit, be like, damn, you're serious? Like, you're not joking. Like, they really feel it's like, we're at war with Nazi Germany. Yeah. Like, we need to take them. There's only one way to solve that is with the fucking Thompson machine gun. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're thinking. It's just like, I mean, and it's all in their head. I mean, again, like, I've said it a million times, but like, it's obfuscation of power. Like, do you think that guy over there that's saying something racist in his alley has any power over your life? Do you think if he's your enemy, what power does he have? He has no fucking power over you. So I mean, like, you know what I mean? You take him out and your life is still fucked. You're still shit. Like,
yeah. Conversely, the guy who can get me fired from my job for posting frog memes or whatever has power over me, even if they're not themselves in a position of influence. They are able to do that to me, and I'm not able to do that to them.
Right.
So to argue that there's no difference between the right and the left is just wrong in this sense. Like, is not equal. It's not that people on the lower classes, people in the working classes are just all on the same page. There's people that are targets, and there's people that are basically acting as cops for the ruling class.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not even a right-toid. Like, I can't even like claim that. So I've got no real stake in either side or whatever specifically. But like, yeah, that whole argument of like, oh well, you know, leftoids are persecuted and tracked by the government and hated by the government and the elites more than right-toids or whatever. Like, I'd hear that shit all the time, and I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, I've got no stake either way, but like, I think that's bullshit because I mean, at the end of the day, you say some right wing shit, you'll lose your job. You'll go on a fucking list. You're in deep shit. You say some leftoid shit, like some communist shit, whatever. Those people laugh at you. I mean, they'll look at you like a child. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the impression I got whenever I said like left leaning shit or whatever. Like, they don't. It's a joke. It's a joke to most people. They don't take you as a serious threat. Like, and the proof is in who gets fired or not, and who gets tracked. Like, it's there. Like,
yeah, and I don't even think it's an ideological thing because I mean, you can have like Nazi beliefs and still support totally mainstream positions,
right,
and still have your Twitter account, right? You know,
right.
Like, I think it's just about where do you stand? Where are your allegiances at the end of the day? Like,
right.
It's not about your fantasy state that you're going to form when you have absolute power.
Right.
It's not about like what books you've read. It's not about, you know, whose ideas are right. It's just where are your loyalties?
Yep.
And so people on the left are also fascists, and then fascists are also, you know, perfectly acceptable, you know, under certain circumstances.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, back to that Spencer thing is like, there definitely seems like there's a lot of people cancel some. You see them a year or two later just do a complete turn, and they're just lib. And yeah, a lot of it is just self-preservation. And yeah, it's not really to do with the ideology. They say whatever their beliefs are, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, they go back to the tit, and they go back to where it's safe. You see that across the board.
Ideology is just, I don't know. I mean, it's not useless, but it's at the end of the day, it's fantasy.
Yeah, I totally agree. 100% agree. Yeah, because the elites don't have idea. They don't give a fuck about that shit.
No,
you can try and analyze them. You can try and project something onto them called neoliberalism, or if you're a boomer, you can call them communists, or if you're a rad lib, you can call them fascists or whatever. But like, it's not ideological. It is like, this is what I do still appreciate about Marx and what I've kept with me. It is just their material
speak on it.
That you got to analyze.
Ideology oftentimes just runs cover for people's material interest.
Yeah. We try to say it as much as we can, but like, it's true. It's just sort of like,
I mean, especially fucking media actors, man. Like,
right. Or it's more explicit. Yeah, they get on a bigger platform or a bigger paycheck. A year later, it's like,
But they care about workers because they're communists.
Right.
And then at the same time, a working class schlub is actually a badass fascist right-wing death squad member, because he listens to racist podcasts and, reads Francis Parker Yockey or something like that. It's like all there's the right is LARPing as powerful and the left is LARPing as powerless, and they mutually reinforce that in the other because they like thinking of themselves that way. The whole thing,
and like the thing that perfectly pieces that together is that if anyone breaks that bit for a second, the whole thing falls down, right? And so you're never going to hear that from either side.
Yeah, that's why they don't like Amy.
Yeah,
she's too autistic to play along.
Yeah. The projecting ideology thing. I was gonna ask you, we see a lot of like brown scare, like paranoia of like, oh, the rising fashion. Like, is there is communism viewed as like a joke on the dissident right by and large, or is there any fears of it like ascending or whatever?
In the dissident right, they're all warming up to communism.
Really?
Nice. For real.
No, really, that's like the trend lately is, I don't know. Third positionism views communism as, something you can work with because it's not liberalism.
Very cool.
But among like boomers, they still think that like they would say that Biden's a communist or Hillary Clinton's a communist or whatever. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more of a normie right thing. And, I'm all for that. I'm all for the anti-communist rhetoric from normie cons. I love normie cons, man. I don't care if they're wrong about stuff. Like they have the right energy. I used to think that like the attendees of Charlottesville and the alt-right were like the badasses that actually were doing stuff and being bold and taking risks and, putting their nuts out there. Like, and they were for a time. But like ever since Charlottesville, they just like acted like they got their hand burned on the stove and like they just don't want to go back over to the stove anymore. Like
traumatized. Yeah.
Yeah. They're just like, owie. Like, meanwhile, like since then, all these normie Republicans are going out in the street and just beating the living shit out of Antifa. And like Kyle Rittenhouse like shot 3 people that were like trying to fucking burn down Kenosha. And
is he normie con?
Yeah, he's like, I mean, this is something that people in the dissident right, they like talked a bunch of shit about Kyle Rittenhouse. He's like a civnat, or he's just a normie Republican, or he's not even white. He's like got part Hispanic.
Whoa, shit.
Just looking for reasons to not support this little.
Well, he's female to male.
Oh, no.
He is female to male.
Oh, no. I can't hear this. You're killing my hero. I can't hear
He's fucking great, man. But yeah, like they shat on him. Not everybody, but I'm just saying there were people who were self-described dissident rightists who were shitting on Kyle Rittenhouse and opposing the Capitol raid because it was a bunch of magatards or whatever. Like these people are actually doing stuff and they're going to prison just like you were. And like some of them are dying, some of them are getting hospitalized for it, and they're not acting terrified the way that the dissident right is. And it sort of feels like the dissident right at this point, the main function it serves is to deter people from actively engaging in politics.
Blackpilling.
Yeah, it's just a pure demoralization engine.
There's a lot of that on the left, yeah, on the so-called like dissident left, just like, oh, black pill, log off, grill, just like a lot of like apoliticism.
Or also just being so repulsive and ineffective that you're just like, I don't want anything to fucking do with anything like that. Like, which is kind of the same thing, you know?
We got that too. We definitely have that too.
Yeah, that's black pill.
We have that in a different way
though, too.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you come back on Twitter or just like or shit. Maybe I'll go to fucking Gab. I don't know.
Come to Gab. So on Gab, I'm at 9/11. Spelled out with the letters, not the numbers. If anybody wants to follow me on Gab,
based.
And then on Telegram, I'm t.me/Genie Energy.
Hey, yeah.
You should come, and you should bring all the leftists with you.
Yeah, they won't follow.
We're missing that.
Yeah.
I would love to have just like an environment where like we're not being caged in by like the possibility of losing our accounts, and we could just like confront these people. So it'd be great if they came to Gab. They're not gonna, but
yeah, I mean they fucking hate me, especially after the lefties posting I was saying. But yeah, I mean maybe I'll come over. Maybe I'll do both. See what it's like. See if it's better. But yeah, this was great, man. I mean, this is good to hear from you. And yeah, you should come on another time. We don't usually talk to a lot of right. We talk to people in the gray, in the middle, or kind of like ambiguous. But we don't talk to. I mean, you're probably more not hard lined in any category either. But it's good to talk to someone of that milieu.
Yeah, I'm like not hardline, but I'm on the right
for sure.
Versus you guys are not hardline, but on the left.
Yeah, basically.
In this sense, it. The right and the left wing of Nazbols.
Right. As much as I tell people not to say I'm on the left, like I mean, and it's undeniable that I'm put in that sphere for sure.
We used to call ourselves the left wing of the alt-right.
I mean, if it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
man.
it's good talking to you.